Coming towards the commentary point at the moment is a small Garrett tractor, steam tractor with a dynamo on the front, originally working at one time for Fred Harris, as it says on the sideboard. Fred Harris Electrifying New Dodgems, owned at the moment by Peter Green, who has another engine here on the field which we'll see later. The father and his wife, Simon and Louise Gill, who actually now own it. I suspect that the Aibling roller Vera May is passing the commentary point now, because the other engines are parking up on a downhill slope, and it would appear to me to be the fact that the engine, the roller, has not got quite enough water in the boiler to allow it to stand downhill for any length of time. The maroon Aibling and Porter, which is passing me by here at the moment, is number 8778. It was built, as I said, in 1916 during the First World War. Valve rollers. They built a heck of a lot during the early 1920s and reverted to piston valve, to slide valve rollers later on in the 1920s, in about 1929. We have a small Fowler traction engine coming past the commentary point at the moment, which is called Jonah. It's another of the machines owned by Peter Green, and this one is a 6-horse Fowler dating from 1899, so it's quite an old machine from that point of view. One that hasn't passed the commentary point but has come into the arena is one of the stars of the show. It's parked in the world, so quite a notable machine. I talked about the Fowler Showmans, Suedo Showmans coming past me at the moment, called the Forest Maiden. Very nicely painted up during this last winter. Followed again by a steamroller, which says on the front of it Babcock. The machine was actually manufactured by Clayton and Shuttleworth at the time when it was taken over by Babcock and Wilcox, and was supplied to a firm in the West Country, Highbridge and Burnham-on-Sea, by the name of W.W. Buncombe Road Rolling Contractors. They've altered the canopy since last year, altered the wording on the canopy, but that's beside the point. The plate on the side of the machine is actually W.W. Buncombe, as it says Highbridge. Telephone number, a wonderful telephone number in this instance, because it's number 12. At the early time when they had telephones in different places in the country. Entering the arena now is another of the engines at one time owned by Robert Wynne of Newport in South Wales. John Summerscales is giving us a very nice display of how machines used to be used for heavy haulage in days gone. 3 trailers behind, and if indeed, for example, one of the trailers was carrying nothing other than items for the hauling engine, for example coal and or water, in the eyes of the law that would not be considered a number of trailers, except with some sort of steam engine from days gone by. And also in days gone by, in the early 1900s and probably the late 1890s, it was possible for road locomotives and showman's engines to pull something like 7 trailers behind them. Of course, in those days there wasn't a lot of other traffic on the road. Passing the commentary point now is an engine which has been to a Sheffield Steam Engine event previously, built in Lincoln by William Foster and Son and Company Limited. here being steered by Tiffer, who I know as. So the Foster, which has just passed me by, has on the front of it, on the smoke box door, a tank, because Foster's it was who actually manufactured in the First World War the first tanks that were part of the English war win, as it were, in France, and that's commemorated by Foster's ever since the First World War by having a tank replica on the front. John Summerscale's road train is now passing the commentary point, which is very long, of course, Leafley Road, at the steam plough works. Another Fowler coming along behind belongs to Rob Tyler. A Tiger tractor, very nice little machine, speedy machine, which was used in days gone by for light haulage of items, perhaps by market gardeners going to the market, and similar. It's a very speedy machine which I first saw on a pile of pallets at Heckington in Lincolnshire, where the five sail windmill is. Or is it 8? Probably 8, it's a lot. So a very speedy machine, very nicely presented today by Rob Tyler, followed along by the Fowler Road engine belonging to John Selby. This Fowler Road engine was built in 1914 and it's number 14910. Selby's have been in business for very many years and operated a steam contracting business at Epworth, as it says on the side of the canopy. That's been followed by the other ploughing engine owned by the Fleer family. It is actually an AA6 dating from 1917. I know that because it was very kindly pointed out to me that it's got a brass chimney top, and the other one of course doesn't have a brass chimney top, so it's easy to see which is which. These engines, as I mentioned earlier, stood on one side of the field and pulled a balance plough between them, communicating over 500 yards or so by whistle. And it was John Fowler who in the mid-1860s, perhaps earlier, 1850s, invented the double engine ploughing system. That changed everything in the world at that time, and Fowler's exported engines to America, to Australia, to Egypt, and all over the world to help in the cultivation system. America for sugar and also cotton, Australia to develop the country. The little Abeling tractor which is following on used to be a steamroller in days gone by. It's owned by Derek Webb of Tickhill, that's what it says on the side, and driven today by Matt Cobb and helped by a young lady who seems to know what she's doing. It's amazing what the transformation could be from a steamroller to a tractor of that nature. It would work because it's got an OS registration. It worked in Scotland at one time as a roller. I have a photograph of it taken in Kent, a long way from Scotland of course, as a steamroller. We're carrying on with a Garrett tractor owned by Paul Bloom, called Adventurer, built in the middle of the war, the First World War that is, 1918, registered BJ because that's what most Garretts were in Suffolk, and it belonged at one time to Mike Dyson, who's a prominent member at one time of the National Traction Engine Trust. It worked for a flour mill in Spalding at one time. We have an unusual steam wagon, Walters, who lives near Liversedge. I was told it had been driven here today, but it wasn't today, it was yesterday, and I believe that is the case. A remarkable machine coming along now, a Marshall steam roller,